paranormal community. Thank you for partaking here on the Odyssey Files. I'm your host, Michael O'Neill. With me, as always, except for last week.
Except for last week. Except for the holiday weekends. You will not see me on holiday weekends.
Yes. Is my co-host, Mr. David Sawyer. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening, Mike. Good evening, paranormal community. Put that on silent, not vibrate.
What are you talking about? My phone hasn't gone off.
That's your phone, not mine.
It's not my freaking phone. Nope, not mine. Yours.
Not mine. Mine's sitting on a pillow. I wouldn't be able to hear it vibrate if it wouldn't matter.
I think you're just hearing things, actually.
Maybe I am. Maybe it's a week away from maybe it's my brain still trying to process what I listened to in the second hour of last week's show. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe my mind is still lost somewhere in Cena's world. So I feel like Cena's world, do 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 do, because I love the lady to death. But once she starts talking about shit, I'm just like, okay, we're all one. Well, if we're all one, then why can't I just make things talk to me? Because that's just a fragment of me, right?
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, fragment, get your ass over here. I want to come touch this REM pod.
We are all ununiquely unique.
If that makes absolutely no sense, but okay.
It makes perfect sense if you don't think about it.
Right, exactly.
Well, we're gonna start the second hour.
We'll start the second hour with kind of what my thoughts are on that. I was just joking around when I said that, but that's kind of what I was like. My mind is.
Yes, that was mine too. In fact, so for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, last week, that too, we had special guest host, friend of the show, psychic medium Sina Dykesman on, and we were talking about, since it was Memorial Day, the afterlife, and by the end of the show, we had destroyed that.
Oh, yeah, there's no afterlife according to
we destroyed the afterlife.
Right.
So you have to go and listen to episode 262 to really know what we're talking about.
To learn basically that every single religion on the planet Earth grabbed a fragment of the truth.
That was my take.
I'm just right. I'm not saying who's getting credit for it. I'm just saying every religion on the planet Earth grabbed a fragment of the truth and ran with it. And there is no afterlife, because basically once you're done, you either sign back up, or if the Galaxy Council decides you're good enough material, you get a more advanced role.
Yes. So again, we'll start the second hour.
We'll start the second half with that. Yeah.
With that.
Yeah.
So might not even get to our topic tonight, which is talking about the colored eyes that people see in entities. And because we've seen a lot, we even have a couple tonight. We've seen a lot of stories lately of people talking about seeing an entity with yellow eyes and seeing an entity with red eyes. I mean, a
lot of red eyes. Yeah.
Lot of red eyes. There's even a story tonight talking about blue eyes, and we have black eyes. Not so much black-eyed children, even though we'll mention them tonight.
Right. They get an honorable mention.
Yes. But even no eyes, because we've had a story there too.
We've had a lot of stories with people where they see just sockets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to tackle that tonight. It was not and has not been easy. So we will see what we can do with what we have to work with. Let's
put it this way. We're going to write the book tonight on eye color.
Pretty much.
Because there's not much out there.
No. And so again, we got that coming up in the second hour. So you're not going to want to miss that. But we have another batch of interesting.
There's some good ones in there. Yeah.
There's some good ones in there. There may be a stinker or two.
No, I thought they were all pretty good. I found a couple that were good because they were pertaining to eye color, which I thought, well, that's perfect because we're going to be discussing eye color tonight. Exactly. And then I couldn't pass on the granola man. I mean, Jesus. Who's going to pass the granola bar?
I don't even know. Like, honestly, I literally was picturing a granola bar. Yeah. That just,
An angry granola bar.
yeah. So, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming up. So we have a lot of foreshadowing coming up here this hour. Maybe I should change the name of the show to the name of this episode to
the foreshadowing.
the foreshadowing show. So anyway, the only other thing that I would like to mention, since it's only a week away and pertains to just this week, or just this area, not this week, this area,
Yeah.
and this week, there are a few spots, not many, but a few spots left for my team's 2-day, 2-night in the cemetery event coming up next week, next Friday and Saturday, June 9th and 10th. And we have been given permission. We've gotten the permission that we were seeking for that, for both nights. So that's going to be an amazing time, because you know as well as I do how amazing these two cemeteries are that we would be going to. And all I have to do is send me a direct message if you are in the Twin Cities area and want to join in on that one. It's just $30 for the 2-night, that price of a movie
and a coffee.
Well, I mean, $15 a night, pretty much.
True. Yeah. So, I mean, if it's date night, or if you get, popcorn and a candy bar and a soda, it's $30.
Yeah. There you go. So if you want to take your date to a special weekend,
a special weekend event. Yeah.
I've often wondered, not to change the subject, but maybe we'll get into this maybe like next Valentine's Day, but like paranormal love type things that you can do. You can take your date on a paranormal investigation, whether that would be a good first date or not. But and I have often thought, and I've copyrighted this. I haven't legally, but I'm going to now. But paranormal speed dating. I honestly think that would be a huge hit. You rent out like Edinburgh Manor, something that has a lot of rooms. You stick, whatever side you want to do it, like the women in each room or whatever.
Yep.
And then the guys go from room to room, and you do speed and EVP sessions. And whoever
and wait until you hear the live EVP. You got to listen to it live though, and then you got to hear the word match. And if you hear the word match, then you get a free gift certificate for dinner for the steakhouse down the road.
No, that is absolutely not it. Although you could, I mean, that would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
But the ladies then obviously choose who they'd like to EVP session with
for the rest of the evening.
No, not for the rest of the evening. For the rest of their lives.
Oh,
rest of their lives, Dave. Anyway,
okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, you go ahead and copyright that. I will not infringe on that in any way, shape, or form.
Like you would. So anyway, yeah, that's next week. You can send me a private message if you're interested in that. So with that said, let's get into our stories. Shall we?
Yep.
All right. Story number 1. Entity attached to my grandmother. I've seen a dark shadow around my grandma the last 2 times she has visited us. She never visits us often because 1, she's not maternal in any way, shape, or form, and 2, she hates the countryside and everyone in the countryside, excluding us, and she flips off the locals all the time. I love this woman. She's a very witty and snarky woman, and she's got a lot of attitude for someone who's 75 years old. I saw the entity for the first time around 2 to 3 months ago when she visited, and again when she visited around 2 weeks ago. So I know it's attached to her. It doesn't seem to be doing harm to her since she's been acting relatively the same, but it has negatively affected my family and I during her visits. I know not to pay it any attention because that's how they get attached to you, but it doesn't seem to be aware of the fact that it's causing harm. It looks like a cloud of black smoke and it's very short. I saw it sitting on the big couch, and my cat, Honey, climbed up on the armrest and started purring. Of course it did. Our 2 dogs are also much calmer when it's around. But whenever my grandma spends the night, my mom and I get sick afterwards and get horrible nightmares about the entity. And the house smells horrible for a few days afterwards. How do I get rid of it or find a way to pacify it? I think that you're. See, I can't understand. I've never seen an entity pacify pets and only harm like 2 specific people, and then everybody's perfectly fine otherwise. So that leads me to believe maybe it's you, especially with the pets, because the pets are far better judges of character. If it was just a cat, I'd be like, of course, duh. Of course, it's gonna purr when there's an evil entity around. But the fact that your dogs are calmer and they're just kind of like, whatever, really leads me to believe that it's not necessarily an evil entity at all. Honestly, I mean, I kind of chuckled when I was reading that because I'm like, maybe your grandma's just slowly poisoning you. Maybe when she visits, she's like, I'm going to cook for you guys. And maybe she's just a really bad cook. And she's slipping in a little something into your food, which is making you sick. And I think you're doing whatever. It's interesting. Your mom, I guess, is having like nightmares about this entity too, unless she sees it as well, which you didn't say anything about. So I mean, I guess I there's just a lot here that doesn't make any flipping sense, and I almost want to call the bullshit flag on this one, a little bit, just because there's so much that doesn't make any flipping sense in it. Like some of it's good over here and some of it's bad over here, and I honestly think that maybe you're attributing certain things to the paranormal that shouldn't be there. I don't know if maybe you're telling your mom about this entity and that is causing her to have dreams. Like you're putting the idea in her head. So yeah, I don't think that I can't say that there's nothing paranormal going on. I just don't think that I just don't think that it's to the level that you believe it is. So I would just continue to pay it no mind, be nauseous for a few days. Maybe somebody took a dump that was a little bit too smelly because of the bad cooking. and that's why it smells bad for a few days. Maybe the sewer backs up easily when there's more than just you and your mom there. I just think that there's so much here that's not not paranormal, or has some sort of other explanation to it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you on this one. Otherwise, what I just have. So, Dave, you go ahead.
Okay. You're not going to pacify it because I think what's happening here is I think it's a reaper, and I think it's hanging out with your grandmother because she's going to pass pretty soon. That's exactly what I think is going on in this situation. The fact that you can see it is interesting. It makes sense that the cats and the dogs wouldn't be afraid of it. They wouldn't be afraid of a reaper. Reapers aren't anything. They're not evil. They're not demonic. They're just a collector of souls. So Grandma's 75. She's a Spitfire. Obviously, it sounds like it. And it's probably going to be one of those situations where when she goes, it's going to be pretty quick because that's the way she's probably lived her whole life. So she's probably not going to be in some really long, stretched out type of demise. It'll probably be something more rapid, something that's more instantaneous. And what you're seeing is basically you're seeing death shadow her. It would explain some of the smells, I guess, if you were sensitive to that. Again, you'd have to be sensitive to that. As far as nightmares, I don't know that a reaper would cause nightmares. But then again, I haven't had a reaper in my house just hanging out with somebody who was going to pass away. So I can't say that that wouldn't be the case. I am sensitive. I'm intuitive. Would I know it was there? Absolutely. Would I see it? I'm probably sure I would. Would it make me nauseous? I don't know. The fact that you don't feel threatened by it obviously says that it's not a negative entity. The animals don't feel threatened by it. I don't know. The smell afterwards is horrible. I don't know. I can't go with.
See, there's so much.
Yeah, I do think, though, honestly, I think it could be an over glamorization of what's really happening, but I honestly think that I think Grandma's going to be gone pretty soon. I think this is basically death shadow is what I would call it. And that for some reason, maybe because she's a relative, maybe Grandma has the ability to see stuff, and has had it and passed it down in the generations. And maybe if she does, it travels with women better than men. So Grandma has it. Mom could have it. Daughter could have it. It's a death shadow. They see it. They recognize it. They know it's there. Maybe it makes them upset because Grandma's going to be gone soon. And it's a realization factor that she's not going to be coming to the countryside giving the bird to all the locals.
As she should.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But that's what I think it is.
I would be with you on that one, except for how long it's been around. I've never seen a story or heard of a reaper hanging around for 2 to 3 months waiting for somebody to die.
I haven't heard of reaper only having 24 hours to collect a soul either. So there's nothing contradictory to that being the case.
It's almost like we don't know a lot about reapers.
We really don't, because there's not a whole lot written about reapers.
We have done a show on reapers.
We did a show on reapers, and there wasn't a whole lot of information on reapers. The best reaper story out there is the one that was written for like creepypasta. That's a great story.
That was a really great story.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great story. But again, that's just a story.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of data about reapers. I think you can get more. I think you could understand more about reapers by watching Supernatural than you could by Googling it and spending 10 hours online trying to find and dig through stuff and find information on reapers.
Almost like our topic for tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty damn close to our topic for tonight, because there were a lot of eye color changes going on in the show Supernatural.
There really were. They used
they used it well.
They used it well. So
they did use it well.
All right. Well, we should have like a graphic that was like disagree, that sort of thing. But
I was thinking about that for tonight's show. Because anything that's online, basically, we can just grab and use. And so when we were going to discuss eye colors, I'm like, why don't we, instead of us sitting there on the screen, why don't we just throw up like a visual of like something, entities with yellow eyes while we're discussing yellow-eyed entities, and then red-eyed entities, and just have maybe like a menage of 5 or 6 different things scroll through. I know that wouldn't be that tough to do, but maybe down the road.
Maybe we'll add visual aids to
aids down the road
to the like 4 people that watch the video version of this show.
Exactly.
Which the people listening on audio would have no idea what we were doing.
That's okay. It'll look good for us. Maybe it'll draw them into watching the show if we have visual aids. Maybe we'll get a greater live viewing audience.
Little carrot before the donkey.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get hungry.
Let's get hungry and move into number 2. Granola textured humanoids. Has anyone encountered granola-like people? I can say I have not. I'm a 20-year-old male, and for years I've witnessed 2 granola-textured people. My first encounter was at the age of 5 when I lived in my home in Kansas. They were about 3 feet 2 inches tall, with yellow eyes and skin that was textured like granola. I would wake up in the middle of the night to see these 2 things staring back at me. I would often just close my eyes really hard or turn the other way. There's countless times I would tell my parents they'd brush it off as a kid just being a kid. Understandable. Although one day when I woke up after them being there the previous night, there were 2 sets of tiny handprints on my bedside. They weren't human handprints, but more of 2 sets of someone put their fingerless hands. The handprints were made up of a disgusting smelling granola textured substance. My parents, baffled by it, brushed it off as me having a midnight snack. These encounters happened the entire 3 years I lived in Kansas. I've lived in several other states where I continue to encounter these things. I understand as a child we are impressionable to certain things, but I know I physically saw these things and continued to see them well into my teen years. Have you guys ever encountered anything similar? I've been asking everybody. No, I can honestly say I have never, ever in my life not only not seen a granola bar that was haunted, but I have not.
Granola bar human.
Granola humanoid, not human. That I have not seen a granola humanoid, but I have never heard of one either, which was kind of what drew my attention to this question. I'm going with alien here. I'm going with some type of extraterrestrial type of being. It makes sense. 3 feet. I mean, that's a pretty damn descript height. 3 feet 2 inches tall. Like I'm good at judging things in the dark because I've seen a million things in the dark. I'll be like, yeah, it was about 6'6". It was about 5 foot tall. It was 4 foot tall. Had a robe on. 3 feet 2 inch tall. That's pretty damn good. Yellow eyes, skin that was textured like granola. I don't get the granola skin thing. The only thing I could think of is some type of otherworldly being that has some type of skin or scales, scaly type of exterior that wouldn't be like a smooth scale pattern, not like lizard-like or snake-like, but maybe scaled. I don't know. I don't know what a good example is, to be honest with you, but something that would be scaly that wasn't a finished smooth protective layer. Maybe something more that was decorative, I guess. The yellow eyes would lead me to. It doesn't lead me to demonic, even though a lot of people think yellow eyes are demons and demonic entities, and maybe they are. Maybe some are. But I don't think this is, because I don't think that you'd be going through your whole youth for 3 years seeing these things in your room and never being injured or never being mentally or physically abused. I just don't understand why they would spend that much time around you unless they were going to take something from you or get something from you somehow. So I'm going alien. That's what I'm going to stick with. It makes sense to me with the alien thing because you've got this individual who saw him as a child, and then as they've gotten older, they still continue to see him. That makes total sense to me as far as abduction theory. So they're 20 years old now. I'm going to say they're probably, if they went into regression therapy, I'm sure that you'd be hearing stories about how they walked into a room with bright lights and there were these things with almond-shaped heads and utensils on a table with a bright light shining on it, and everything was blah, blah, blah. It would be, I think regression therapy would give you your kind of alien abduction type of thing.
So I am also going alien, but more specifically reptilian. I think you hit it on the head, and it's not so much granola, which just makes me laugh. But
it makes me laugh too.
But scaly, that sort of thing. And I mean, okay, so this is how he describes it: that there were. The handprints were made up of a disgusting smelling granola textured substance. And the parents were like, you need to watch what you eat.
Yeah. No more midnight snacks.
No more midnight snacks. Wow. Like that's pushing like the line of sanity and logic.
It's pushing the line of responsible parenthood is what that's pushing.
Well, there's that too. So, but I get it. People are willing to accept outrageous things in order for their world to make sense.
Right.
I'm wondering if and I don't know if alien and reptilians actually have to do this or not, but maybe a little molting,
Mhm.
that
kind of came to mind to me too.
Type of thing. But yeah, I think he's taking his granola texture, whatever, as like maybe smaller scales type of a deal. Why? I have no idea why these two, and if it's the same two. I mean, if it's the same two, then you really have to wonder, what is the actual cause? Is this 20-year-old one of them and doesn't know it? A sleeper reptilian agent, and they're the handlers. They're the ones that look out for him. The only other thing, and this goes right back to the whole, they're 3 foot 2 inches tall. In this person's defense, the only thing that I can think of where he would get that exact height is if he sees them standing next to something that he knows the height of. Like a bedpost or something like that. And they're like, okay, they're as tall as my bed, and my bed is 3 foot 2 inches tall.
Right.
That's just in his defense. Don't know if that's the case or not, but I agree with you on that one. That was a very specific height.
It's a very specific height.
But from what I gathered though of the stories of reptilians, they're tall. Like they're
taller than 3 feet.
Yeah. I mean, they're not kid sized.
No.
So I mean, are these youngster reptilians? Did he come across these two reptilians and they mimicked on him as being Dada?
Like they were hatched, and that's why they look like granola, because their scales haven't smoothed out yet because they're immature. And they were the first thing he saw. So like anything that hatches from an egg, the first thing it sees, it associates with its parents, which is why, like, when you hear stories of, we had a farm and we had duck eggs and there were no other, when my son took a duck egg and then the duckling hatched and it saw my son, and now it follows my son everywhere because it thinks it's its parent.
Exactly.
So could that be?
Does that make any more or less sense than anything else that we've encountered here tonight?
No, it doesn't make any less sense than anything I've encountered, period.
Very true.
So, I mean, could it have happened? Sure. Yeah. I think so. I think the granola thing is his mind trying to make sense of this rough scale texture.
Yeah.
Is what I think is happening.
I agree. But just
And I think it's alien. I think that honestly, whether it's reptilian, it certainly could be. The yellow eyes would point towards reptilian. Is he a sleeper agent? I don't know. I think you're going a little far there. But could it be reptilian, juvenile reptilian, extraterrestrials? It certainly could be.
Yeah. And I don't know if I would go as far as the whole he's been abducted, but I would not be surprised in any way, shape, or form.
No, I wouldn't either. If they've been around him since he was 5 and he's 20 and he continues to have experiences, they're getting something from him. Unbeknownst to him, they're getting something from him.
There is a reason. Yes.
There's a reason they're there. So
yeah. 100% agree on that one. All right. Short one. Like it. Strange encounter. Yesterday, I was working in a care home for the elderly. This happened in the afternoon. I was walking along one of the corridors and I felt someone touching my back, followed by a prickly static sensation. When I turned around, no one was there. The corridors are adapted for wheelchair users and are wide. I definitely didn't brush against anything. Any idea what it could have been? Yeah, a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Either trying to make you hurry along, maybe you weren't walking fast enough, or it was just simply letting you know that it was there. I mean, obviously that prickly static sensation, investigators feel it all the time during investigations, and that is definitely their way of, that's our way of interpreting their energy. Mm-hmm. I think is the best way of putting that.
Yeah.
I know that when I feel that during an investigation where I did not cause that myself, I can think like weird thoughts or whatever, and give myself the shivers. But when I'm not doing anything like that, and it just comes over me for like a full-bodied like static charge, I know they're around me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is not abnormal. For the paranormal, that is normal.
That is normal. Yeah.
So that is para-normal.
Especially the location.
No, yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're working in a place that sees people passing from illness, disease, just natural causes, whatever. That's what they're there for, trying to get their, to stay alive a little bit longer. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, Christ, when I was in the rehab, doing my rehab years ago, there was all kinds of shit happening in the hallways there. It was crazy. I used to close my door. Like, one of the rules was you had to leave your door open. I used to get up and close my door because if I left my door open, I'd see shadows walking by it all the time, and then I couldn't sleep. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm just,
maybe
you guys are annoying me.
Maybe you should have shut your eyes.
Yeah, no, I did. I could still feel them. They'd come in the room. Peter can vouch for that.
Oh, I don't doubt it. You were just talking about how you saw him in the hallway. I'm like,
well, I would feel the energy change, and so it would cause me to open my eyes. And then as soon as I open my eyes, it's always lit in the hallway, obviously, because you've got nurses and staff moving about. But my room was at the very end of the hallway, right next to the emergency fire exit. So you had to specifically come down to my room to see me, to come down that far down the hallway. And the rooms weren't directly across from each other. They were like one, like that.
They're bricked.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They were staggered. So you didn't, when you got out of bed, you're walking around in your fancy schmancy robe with your butt hanging out. They didn't, your neighbor across the way wasn't like, oh, hey, look at that. So
there's worse things that could have happened.
There's worse things that could have happened. But I used to see that all the time. And I'd be like, okay, whatever. Hi, go away. I'm trying to get some rest. That's why I'm here for 47 days. So anyway, I agree with you 100%. I think it was an entity. It was the energy of somebody who had passed that's still there, whether it was a recent passing and maybe you had cared for them and it was like a hug and they were just saying goodbye or a thank you very much for the care you gave me in my last moments. Certainly could have been. I don't think there's anything bad about it. I wouldn't be worried about it. I wouldn't be concerned about it. It's just you experienced what we experience, and not being a paranormal investigator, I get how it would be a little shocking and you'd wonder what exactly just happened, but that's what it feels like. I always describe it. I've been describing it like this forever. It's like if you took a D battery and you put it, or 9-volt battery, and you were testing it to see if it was dead or not. And you take the 2-prong things and you stick it on your tongue. And you get, if it still has any juice left in it, you get that little tiny, and it feels like your tongue's vibrating and it's like fuzzy. That's what your whole body feels like if a spirit walks up next to you or you walk through one. Because I've walked through them before too. Obviously, I didn't see them. And I did that as we were leaving the prison. After we had that really weird encounter with the door, where Kim looked in the room and she's like, check this out. And I looked in the room and she saw the guy staring back out. And I looked in the room and I just saw like a mechanical room with like brooms and stuff against one wall. And then like a black space with like, I don't know what it was, industrial washing machines or whatever it was in there. And then we called you guys back. And we went and looked at the door and the glass was completely painted over red. I don't know what the hell we saw. I mean, I don't know what happened there. Some sort of time slip. I mean, the fact that she saw somebody looking out, called me right away. I caught the end of it somehow. And then by the time we organized and got everybody back over there, that moment of time had already gone. And when we left that space, I walked right through somebody. So, it happens. Speaking of that, here comes the next question. Are we done with this one?
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of that, what the hell happened? That is the title of the next question. I live in New Mexico on a military base. A few nights ago, I was falling asleep. Nothing out of the ordinary happened that day, but sometime in the middle of the night, I was woken up with loud ringing in my ears and this incredible sense of dread and fear. I opened my eyes to my room. No strange or out-of-place objects. Nothing that isn't in my room right now as I typed this. At the foot of my bed, I saw this vague, lanky, dark figure with a head shaped a little like an almond. It had no distinguishing features other than these piercing blue eyes that didn't seem to be affected by the fact it was dark in the room. Almost like a flashlight, but they didn't project any light onto me, just that they were much brighter than anything else in the room. I haven't felt fear like this in years. I tried to yell, but all I could muster was these distraught moans. Eventually, I was able to wave my arm around. However, my arm was very heavy, and I didn't have much control over it. I waved my arm around and continued to moan for what felt like a few minutes before I assume I fell back asleep and woke up the next morning. Was this really just a messed up dream, sleep paralysis, or something else entirely? I just want to make sense of it. I'm going to chalk this up to one of two things. Sleep paralysis, I think, is partially come into play here. But the fact that you were awoken by this loud ringing in your ears, an incredible sense of dread and fear, that I think that's your subconscious waking you up to something that there's medically wrong with you. That's what I'm being told. So I think this is more of a medical thing. So if you're listening, which you're not listening live most likely, but if you are listening and you happen to hear this, I would go in and get a full checkup and make sure everything's okay and that there's nothing neurological going on. Because that's what I'm reading into this. That's kind of what I was told. Whatever's telling me this is that it's more of a medical situation, and the almond-shaped figure with the piercing blue eyes was just a hallucination because of the mental state you were in, that there really wasn't anything there. So in this case, I don't think this is paranormal at all. I think it's medical.
I didn't really think that there was anything bad going on either. I didn't go to the medical part of that, but when you said that, it made perfect sense. Because I've had it where I've woken up because I sometimes will shift or move. I kind of sleep on my arm and shoulder, and everybody, when they sleep on their arm for a long period of time, and that has woken me up to the fact that I'm suffocating my arm or whatever, and it's numb,
dead arm.
You can't move it. All you can do is flop it around.
That's because you pinch the blood flow off, and it is what it is. And then your body wakes up and says, "Hey, dumbass, get off of there."
You need that.
It needs some blood in your fingertips.
Exactly. And and you squeeze the muscles to try to get the blood flowing back in there.
And it does after 30 seconds or whatever. Yeah.
It tingles, and
it tingles like hell. Yeah.
And it comes back.
Right.
I agree with you 100% on it. I think there was something medical about this. I almost want to go with the whole, sleep paralysis thing. The only problem with that is nobody's ever, at least not that I know of, has ever had the hallucination of the blue-eyed, almond-shaped faced man.
Right.
That is new, but that could be from anything, in this person's life. Maybe he really loves almonds. He eats almonds all the time.
Maybe UFOs. He lives on a military base. Maybe he's had some type of experience with something he couldn't explain in the air.
Yes,
because that was the other direction I was going. But I really think this is a medical thing. I don't think it is anything other than medical. But my second thing would be, it's, again, not to be on a UFO binge here, but that I would think that with the almond-shaped head, possibly alien, but I think it's medical.
I do too. I think the ringing in the ears, it could be
waking him up,
an inner ear infection, something going on in the blood flow there. Your body was waking you up to seek help, because maybe if you kept on sleeping in that position or something like that, you were
something would have happened, right,
about to be out the door. So I agree. I think it definitely is medical and not paranormally based. Good call, Mr. Sawyering.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank whoever's hovering around behind me. Because that's who told me. So it's medical, Dave. Okay, thank you.
All right. Not sure what is disturbing my sleep. Maybe Fae or an incubus? Seeking clarity. I can tell. You really need some.
That's a big stretch right there. Fae to incubus.
Yes. And we will get to
it. But that's a hell of a long, there's a whole lot in between those two things.
Yes. All right. I have a history of living in haunted houses, but I never had too much trouble with it. Recently, I moved into this new house, which doesn't feel haunted at all, and it's also new in its construction. Yet, since I moved here, I wake up feeling not rested at all. Possible explainable. There we go. Maybe I can talk tonight. Possible explainable causes. The air feels dry. It might simply be that I need more humidity. I do wake up with dry eyes. The plants. There are a shitload of plants in this room, including a whole ass vine over my head. Maybe a CO2 problem? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know how it could be dry with that many damn plants living in there unless they're sucking all the humidity out of the room.
Now on to the speculative hypothesis. Previous roommate is what I call a plant goddess. She had loads of plants and is very good at it. In fact, the beautiful vine over my head is hers. I have imagined she might have brought with her heritage some kind of fae creatures that live in these vines. I cannot see fae, but wondered if they are there and do not like the new inhabitant, me. As I said, the house does not have haunted vibes, but I don't feel eerie walking around at night. Yet almost every night when I'm falling asleep, I feel weird. Yesterday, I turned off the light, and as I laid down, I felt a zap in the energy, almost as if someone was watching. I felt terrified and immediately woke up. Other nights, too, I feel uneasy just before bed. One night, I woke up from a dream where the plant was a creature. As I wake up and open my eyes, the real image of the plant is superimposed to the dream. It took me a while to erase it and go back to sleep. Sometimes I'm a little afraid to let go or meditate. Not as much as in previous haunted houses, but particularly in my bed. I'm not sure if this is my projection or truly something is out there. But if there is, how can I find out? Should I enter into conscious communication with said creatures? Maybe I perceive the energy as unsettling just because of my own darkness. Maybe the experience can be different and we can go on wonderful astral travels together. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. The first thing I'm going to say is I don't think you should start planning picnics to dimension number 4 with your fae creatures anytime soon. Okay, so that's another weird one. Good job, Dave.
Thanks.
So first things first, let's just hit the fae. If there are fae in your room and attached to these vines and they do not like you, they will not just make you feel unrested. You're going to know because they're going to do a hell of a lot more than just make you feel weird.
Yeah.
So I think you can throw out the fact that fae are living in your vines. Second, you said incubus, yet you never mentioned it the whole rest of the time in your entire story. An incubus.
Part of the reason the story is in tonight's stories. That was part of the reason I chose it.
So, an incubus is a sexual demon. Okay, I honestly don't think you know that. An incubus is obviously a male sexual demon, and a succubus is the female version. Mm-hmm. Since nothing, unless you were waking up not only feeling unrested but strangely satisfied, it's not an incubus. So you can throw that out. Honestly, I don't think there's anything going on. I think it probably is the plants that they're doing something to not intentionally, but I mean like maybe the smell of them or something in them is making it so you're not getting that full sleep that you have been. Honestly, I would chest that out and just sleep in another room, for a couple days, a week, see if all of a sudden you feel rested. And if you do, then you know that it's the whole big plant room full of plants that I don't know why is in your bedroom, especially since they're your roommates. Plants.
That's the whole point, right? Previous roommate.
So she's not even there, but she left all of her.
Yeah,
but she left all of her
anymore.
plants.
Right.
But she left all of her plants, including the beautiful vine that has Fae.
Right.
Should you launch into conscious communication? I've never heard of it phrased like that. No. And even if you try to, I don't think there's anything there that would answer. Honestly, my best guess is sleep in another room, see how you feel. If it continues, then there might be something with the house itself, especially if it's a newer construction. Maybe they used a interesting type of wood, or they did something with the treatment of it that goes against like how your body reacts.
Maybe it's too airtight.
Maybe there's that
new construction. There is always that issue. That's why they put air exchangers in new houses when they build them now. But with new construction, the way they wrap them suckers now, they make them airtight, man, and stale, dirty air is not good for our health.
Right. And so yeah, and if that is the thing, just either move the plants or get rid of them altogether, and you should be just fine, considering it's your previous roommate, so you're the one taking care of all of these plants.
A shit ton of plants.
A shit load of plants.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stay away from. I don't know how you can suddenly astral project into another dimension or whatever. You go on these wild. I think you should lay off the drinks a little bit. I think you're drinking a little too much. Either that or you're reading way too much into this. But yeah, I think you're perfectly fine. You just need to change your environment and see if that is it. But there's nothing paranormal here whatsoever.
I agree with you. I
agree.
I wonder. This is the only thing that pops into my head, right? Is if there is something that maybe one of these plants is some type of noxious plant, right? Something that causes like allergic or skin reactions, allergy reactions, whatever, like that type of plant. And it's a previous roommate, and maybe she left it there intentionally because she didn't like you. I agree with Mike, but instead of going and sleeping in another room, because that might not be a possibility, because it's all brand new construction. It sounds like maybe there's multiple people living here in order to pay for it, type of thing, is the feeling I get. Get the damn plants out of your room, all of them. Take her big fancy vine and all of her other plants and go put them someplace else. Put them outside. Tell her to come get them. Tell them that they're done. You're done watering them. I'm not taking care of them anymore. Get rid of them and walk back in and reclaim your space. Your room is your space. So walk back in and just say, look, if there is something going on here, if there are fey people here, if there are entities that were attached to these plants, the plants are no longer in my room. Therefore, you should no longer be in my room. This is my space. Get the hell out. I don't want you here. You're interfering with my life. And give it a week. And if you wake up and you're feeling fine, great. That is not the stepping stone to start astral projecting and meditating and going and doing conscious communication with said creatures. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be thankful that you resolved the issue and move on with your normal life. Do not go running looking for some other reason to have other issues in your life that you can't control. Just want to make sure that that's clear. So, yeah, so get rid of the plants. Have your old roommate come and get them. And like I said, if you guys didn't leave on a good term, maybe there's a plant in there that causes issues with sleeping. I don't know. I mean, I know obviously there's plants that it can kill us, and there's plants that we're allergic to, like poison ivy, obviously, and poison oak, and plants that we, hay, goldenrod and hay fever, and there's all kinds of plants that we aren't good for us. But I don't think that there's any fairies flying around your room, because fairies are notoriously not friendly. So that's what, and by the way, if people are listening and they don't know what a fae is, F-A-E, that's what they're referring to. Fairies and fabled individuals, meaning little guys like Tinkerbell.
All right. All right, here we go, Dave.
What? Uh-oh. Approved. I love it. It gets the stamp of approval. We need the air horn. Some type of
no, we really don't.
Trumpet from like medieval times.
Yeah.
So, okay. So are we moving on from phase? And I agree with you. I agree with you on the incubus. Part of the reason I chose the story, there's no such thing. There's no comment whatsoever here about how you're waking up feeling like you had a rough tumble in bed. So incubuses are notoriously not romantic lovers. They're rough, to say the least, from women that I have had experiences with them. It's more of a rape sensation than it is a Latin lover showed up and we made passionate love all night long. That's not what an incubus is.
Yeah, it's a violation.
It's a violation. It's a demon, and it's coming to take what it wants. It's not coming to ask you politely if you would comply with its desires. So since this story has absolutely no comment whatsoever about anything like that happening, I'm just going to dismiss that and just say that go with the fae people. But I still I agree with you, Mike. I don't think that's what it is. So, and I think the dream when she saw a plant creature, that's just your imagination running wild with you. You're having dreams because when you go to sleep at night, you're thinking subconsciously, I wonder if there's fairies in the room, and I wonder if they're here to harm me. And then you go to sleep. So what is your brain? The last thing that you're consciously thinking before you go to sleep? I wonder if there's some sort of fairy people in here that are going to hurt me tonight while I'm sleeping. Of course, you're going to have a nightmare about fairy people and about plants from hell. That you're predisposing yourself to do so. It's the same thing as if you watch a great demonic horror movie. As a matter of fact, I'll be watching one maybe tonight, if not tonight, tomorrow.
Blood and Honey, the Winnie Pooh story?
It's not out yet. We tried to find it the other night. It's not streaming anywhere. But I am going to watch The Pope's Exorcist, which is a true story, based on a true story, of somebody that I did a lot of research on years ago, a true exorcist guy, Father Amora. Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. And when he passed, they sold his rights, all of his personal scripture or all of his personal notes and stuff like that. And then they made anyway, it got great reviews as far as visual effects and jump scares and stuff like that. So, and it looks pretty good. I watched the trailer. Looks pretty amazing. So, and it got good reviews from outside people. So, okay. A floating, glowing orb. Keep watching me at night. You know how we love orbs. I am a 20-year-old female and keep seeing this orb at night in my bedroom, and I can feel it watching me. This started a couple of weeks ago. I was on my phone in the dark when I suddenly felt I was being watched from a specific corner in my bedroom. When I looked over, I saw this floating orb in the exact same corner. It was blue. The center was more opaque than the outside. It was round, but similar to an egg. Okay. Looked like a glowing cloud, but the glow was kind of faint. If I look away for a bit, it will be in a completely different spot. But if I look for long periods of time, I can see it moving. It appears to be moving towards me as if it's trying to approach me. I'm 100% certain this is not a light from any electronic devices because I turn off and unplug everything before going to bed. Also, I have searched where the orb appeared and there were no light sources to be found. My bedroom is pitch black at night. Even if the light was coming from one of the devices, none of them have a blue light. Most are neon red and some are neon green. I don't know what this thing is, but I don't think it's evil. It's actually felt like it was trying to comfort me somehow. It does make me feel scared or in danger. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Correction there. It doesn't make me feel scared or in danger, just uncomfortable because I can feel it watching me. Some nights I could have sworn I saw two, but maybe that was just my eyes playing tricks on me. Also, the color is not 100% true blue. It is like a blue with a small hint of green. It doesn't appear in my bedroom every night, but it does show up often at random times. Any idea what it could be? It is somebody who has passed, somebody who loves you and cares about you, that is coming in your room because for some reason right now you need somebody to watch over you. So whether something's going on in your life that's unpleasant, or you're having social issues, social anxiety, relationship issues, something, medical issue. I don't think it's medical here though. I think it's more of this feels more to me like a grandma, grandpa, maybe mom, if she's passed, that is coming into your room and just being with you in order to give you a feeling of comfort, and you happen to be able to see it, whereas most people could not see this when they came in. Most people wouldn't be able to see it. I certainly, the color blue does not represent evil in anything that I've ever read or studied or investigated. I've never had, in all the cases that I've done, I've never ever had a client who said, I saw the devil and it was this blue ball of light and it came in. It's not, I've never even heard it. So the fact that it's blue to me means it's more comforting. It's more saintly. It's more, I'm not going to say it's, not godlike, but it's more angelic. It's more love and peace and light versus anything that would be there to harm you in any way, shape, or form. So I wouldn't be scared. I don't think there's any, other than the fact you're uncomfortable that you see it. I understand that, but I would not be scared of it. I would just accept it and as a comfort.
I agree. And with that, we're going to go to break. I will give my my response on the
flip side. Yep.
On the flip side. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Those of you listening on your streaming podcasts, enjoy our promos, and those listening on Subspace Odyssey Radio, enjoy whatever news and top of the hour you guys hear. So Dave and I will be back on the other side. We'll see you in a little bit.
This is Susan Slaughter from Paranormal Caught on Camera, introducing you to the most epic show ever, The Odyssey Files with David Soyering and Michael O'Neill. You're welcome. Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, this is Grant Wilson from Ghost Hunters, and if you ever have time that you never want to get back, spend it listening to Mike and Dave on the Odyssey Files.
This is Heather Taddy of Paranormal State and Alien Highway. I can't say that the Odyssey Files are out of this world, but Mike and Dave are quite abductable.
Hey, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters, and you're listening to Dave and Mike on the Odyssey Files. It's not the best show you're ever going to listen to, but it's also probably not the worst.
This is Michelle Belanger, author of The Dictionary of Demons. What is faster than a speeding shadow person and more fun than an anal probe? It's Mike and Dave of the Odyssey Files. Hold on to your hats and buns.
This is Elizabeth Saint. You know, in my journeys I've confronted an over 1,000-year-old demon from the depths of Shepherdstown. But then, you know what happened? I came across Mike and Dave. And hot damn, nothing could have prepared me for the Odyssey Files. My second favorite radio show. I love you guys.
And we are back. All right. So we were discussing on the other side a blue orb, not 100% blue orb, but an orb.
Close. Yeah. And a real orb, not a photographic orb.
Yes, that's why I was just about to make that clear. Yeah, that difference in it, in that the fact that she can see this orb with her naked eye, and now with an IR, and it just kind of hovers there instead of, going across the screen, changes things, because everybody knows how much I love orbs.
We've seen a couple good ones, but they're rare.
Yes. So, I mean, and this, I don't think is simply a, like point the IR at it and see it do, cool maneuvers. I mean, like this has this very specific purpose. And I agree. Blue is never, ever, malevolent or negative or evil. In fact, a lot of things that I've read about blue is like innocence and purity and stuff like that. I mean, I would have to ask, what is going on in your life, which I'm assuming, you probably aren't connecting the two if there is something going on, emotionally or whatever. But I mean, I would not be surprised if it was like a guardian angel watching over you, maybe not even understanding that you can feel its presence and you can see it. If it bothers you, just try saying something to it. Next time you see it, just be like, hey, I know you mean me no harm. I don't mean to be rude. And if you're checking up on me, great. I'm like, but I can see you. And I would prefer, if you are going to come, that you not keep me up. You make it so I don't really know that you're here. And see what happens. I mean, it's not going to attack you or suddenly, disappear or anything, but, this entity, whether it is a guardian angel, whether it is a loved one checking in on you, might not know that it's bothering you that much. So
you might not know you can see it.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You might not know that, it's not be aware that you're able to perceive it. So, I mean, just I don't want to say like a friendly reminder, but just simply state what is going on and with you and what you want, and make it known that you're not scared of it and it's not particularly bothering you or harming you, and you don't think that it's evil or has negative intentions, but just that you would like to sleep and it's keeping you up. I think that that's more than a fair request, and you might not ever see it again after that. Doesn't mean it's not there, but it's just doing what you asked. So, I mean, I guess be very careful on exactly how you phrase it.
Yeah, don't chase it away, because it's not there to harm you, like we said. So don't pull the authoritative, you need to get the hell out of my space and blah, blah, blah. That's not what you want to do in this situation.
Well, right. I mean, and that's not where I was going with mine. I
know you weren't.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on what you just said. It just is, if it brings you any sort of comfort or whatever, just be like, hey, maybe every once in a while I perceive that you're here, but come anytime you want. I'm just saying, if you're like, hey, you're keeping me awake, I'd prefer not to perceive you anymore. You might not ever see it or feel it again. And I don't know if that's necessarily what you want.
Ask for it to come during the day when it's not so prevalent, right? Because they slip in a pitch black room. Any type of disturbance in a pitch black room is going to wake you up. So come during the day when all the neon light stuff is plugged in, right? And then you wouldn't even notice it. And if you did, it wouldn't be a big deal, because you'd just be like, it's just a reflection of the whatever wall clock or whatever other neon bright colors are going on in the room.
I don't know anybody who like unplugs all of their.
I don't either.
I
found that interesting.
I'm told that, like, even when things are off, they can siphon energy and stuff, but not enough to really do anything. So yeah, it's interesting. And then she still has everything that I have is like neon red and blah blah blah.
Yeah, neon green, no blue.
No blue.
No blue.
No blue. I have no idea why. We just had to do that, but whatever.
It just came to me.
Exactly. But yeah, I agree with you on everything that you said. So, okay. So let's start hour 2 with the finishing of our discussion from the first hour.
Sure.
On your reactions to our last week destruction of the afterlife.
Okay. So like I said, if you know Cena, if you don't know Cena, get to know Cena. She's got a website. You can find out a lot of stuff about her. She does events. You can meet her in person, go to events that she's at. It's posted where she's going to be. I'm sure she posts on her website different conventions, paranormal things that are going on in the Twin Cities, but she also travels outside the Twin Cities. I know she's been a couple different places that I've seen her, not necessarily in Minneapolis and St. Paul. So she's very... So here's the first thing you need to understand about Cena. Everything that is happening all at the same time. It's exactly like that movie.
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes. I was going to say the movie that I watched it for a half hour and then turned it off because it made my head hurt. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need to relapse and end up back in the hospital, like drooling on myself. So I'm like, I went back and I finished watching it and I'm like, okay, well, that's a pretty crazy movie. That makes me think of some of the way that Cena sees the world. And I don't mean that in a bad way. That's not a criticism, but that's kind of the feeling that I get, is that she sees us as living simultaneously our present, past, and future.
Mm-hmm.
And that all of us are existing at exactly the same time in all three. I don't want to call them dimensions or realms. I'm not really sure what the right word is here, but that we're existing in all three places simultaneously. And that every once in a while there's overlap. And okay. So knowing that and listening to her explanation of the afterlife, it doesn't surprise me at all that she does not believe in what religion calls the afterlife. I'm a man of strong faith, and I had been religious for a long time, but I don't have to go to church in order for my faith to be strong. As a matter of fact, my faith is its strongest when I'm out in nature. So like if I'm sitting in a deer stand, or if I'm just walking through the woods, or if I'm sitting on a quiet edge of a river fishing, or whatever I happen to be doing, I have more, I'm closer to God there than I ever am in a packed building while somebody's passing the collection plate, while somebody's up there beating the Bible in the pulpit, you know.
I love the fact that nothing makes you feel closer to God than sitting in a stand waiting to kill one of his creatures.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't want me to kill it, I wouldn't be there. You know that. There's no random coincidence. Everything is there for a reason.
If God didn't want me to shoot the deer, there's no way I'd be in the stand with a rifle.
That's right. That's exactly how it is. If that deer wasn't meant to die on that day by me, it wouldn't be in that exact spot. So the fact that it shows up and the fact that I'm able to take the shot and get a clean kill, that's how it's meant to be. I harvest animals to eat. You know, I don't hunt for the sport of killing. I hunt to put food on the table. So, but I think that I agree with her in the fact that the Roman Catholic Church used fear and intimidation in order to perpetuate Christianity, which obviously that's proven throughout history. And it got dark for a long time, and there was a lot of death and pain and suffering involved with people who wouldn't convert to Christianity and were forced into it. So I agree in that respect, but I don't get the concept of that we're all one and that we're just fragments of that. Because if we're all one, then we are the one.
We're all
in my
God,
mind.
Dave. We're all God.
That's what it would be. Mm-hmm. If there's only one entity and we're all the same entity, and the entity, the one, is what I call God, then we're all God. We're all fragments of God, which makes absolutely no sense to me. I can't comprehend that. So, I don't know if it's just my existence on the planet Earth, but I need to look beyond the simplicity of multifaceted fragments of individuals all living out separate life lessons simultaneously in 3 different realms, in past, present, and future. I can't grasp. It's too big for me to grasp. So I thought it was interesting when she said that hell is on earth. I've heard that before many times. I agree with her 100%, 99%.
99.9%.
99.7%. I agree with her in the fact that you don't need to go to hell to find a demon or to find a negative entity or something evil. You don't have to look that hard to find it. If you want to find it, you just reach out and make yourself vulnerable, and you'll find it. You don't have to travel anywhere. They're all around us. They're just waiting for an opportunity to arise and to find their next host, so to speak. Like a parasite. That's what I consider negative entities to be. They're just parasitic beings. So, and I thought the thing of purgatory was interesting when you guys were talking about suicides. I found that very interesting. If somebody takes their life, it's always been taught to me, and this is growing up Roman Catholic and Greek Orthodox. If you take your own life, you're going straight to hell. That's just how it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's interesting, and I can see where she's coming from. The years of being beat into my head obviously don't allow me to go there. I'd have to uncondition myself from that. But I can see her point, and I can get behind her point and your point, that if there's a person who lost a loved one and doesn't want to be here anymore because life just has no meaning left in it, that they want to be with their loved one that is gone, that they take their own life so that they can move forward and be with their loved one, that they're not going to be stuck in purgatory because they're doing it as a conscious decision, not because of depression or pain or loneliness or being a lost soul. They know exactly what they're doing. And they're making that transition like, hey, I'm just done here. This is it. I'm just done here. I'm ready to keep going. I'm just done with this bullshit. And then, and that's what you're saying, really. And so, however you do your deed, and then you move forward, you don't get stuck in purgatory. You move through and transition through. And I think that that's probably true. I think a lot of people that take their lives that are confused and in a deep state of depression and take their own lives, I think those are the lost souls that are stuck roaming around the planet Earth. I think, and I still think, and I've said this for many, many, many years, instantaneous death, I think people don't understand that they've passed away. And unless somebody comes and specifically comes for them to rescue them, they're lost, wandering around, wondering where all the rest of the people in their lives went. And that would be scary as hell if you think about it, right? Like if you had a widowmaker heart attack, or you were out walking in the woods and a tree branch fell and it caught you in the back of the neck and gave you the perfect hangman snap, and you died without even understanding that what the hell happened to you, and then you were reborn, and all of a sudden you go back home, but it's not your home anymore, but it is your home because that was your home, and it was your friends, and you're trying to be with your friends, and you can't, and your husband or your wife or your kids or your spouse or your mom or your dad and aunts and uncle, whatever. You go to your job and you're, and nothing is right. That would be scary as hell. And so I can understand why some spirits don't want to communicate, because they're just freaked out. And they're like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't want to, I'm not going to do anything. And I don't know who I can trust, because I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's going on here. And then I think there's other times when spirits are like, you know what? I'm someplace I don't want to be. I don't understand where I'm at, but I need some help. I need somebody to come grab my hand and pull me out of here, because I need to move on. So that's kind of my wrap up of it. I mean, you guys were all over the board. That's the best I can put on it. You know?
I did tell her, this is my final thought on that. I did tell her after the show that I wish that you had been there, because you would have filled the gaps where I would have had.
I was actually answering. I was answering while I was listening to it. I'm like, oh man, if I was on this show, I got like a perfect response for that.
Exactly, because there was a lot of times where I'm like, well, Dave probably would have responded here.
Yeah.
While I'm collecting my thoughts, but nope, there's nobody, so it's just silence.
It's just dead silence, and she's just sitting there waiting for you to, you know, what you're going to do next, you know, and you're like, that's awful deep. You know, I don't know what to make of that.
I needed to put my brain matter back into my skull.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting show. So like I said, if you haven't listened to last week's show, need to.
Yeah, you need to, because and go into it with an open mind. You know, don't go into it with a prejudice of they're bashing religion and blah blah, because it's not a show about bashing religion, and I'm not bashing religious. I grew up Roman Catholic. If I want to talk about Roman Catholic religion, I can talk about it, because I was there. You know, I'm just giving you my perspective on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and at the time when I was a kid, it was, you know, it was something to follow. It was a template of how to live a clean, proper life. And it kept me out of trouble. It really did. You know, I mean, I could have, in the area I grew up in around the south side of Chicago and the steel mills and Gary, Indiana and stuff, I could have gotten, and just the opportunities were endless for me to either be dead or be in a long jail sentence right now and still in prison. And, you know, so I'm thankful in the fact that I got a guideline template type of thing that kept me on a cleaner path. We still did stupid shit, but nowhere near what we could have done given the opportunities that were presented to us daily. You know, so I thank religion for that.
Gotcha.
So,
all right. Moving on to tonight's topic. So, like I said it earlier in the show, we have seen a lot of stories that have centered around eyes and eye colors. Right. And yellow has been showing up a lot. It was even one here tonight. And so, I mean,
let me ask you this.
Sure.
Have you personally?
No.
Okay.
Have I personally seen an entity with colored eyes?
Something like anything with like eyes that either transitioned from one color to another, or an individual whose eyes went black or white, or anything like that? No?
Nope.
I have. I was just curious if you had.
No, I have not had the I can imagine. I mean, except for watching it on TV.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, I've seen a ton of it on TV, but I mean, in real life, when it happens, like when somebody looks at you and you can tell there's something wrong with them, and they close their eyes and blink, and they open their eyes back up, and everything's black. It's unsettling.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's because you're there. It's real. It's not on the television set. That person was like 3 feet from me, man, and it was not like dark in the middle of the night. And it's happened more than one time, regretfully, that I've seen it. But you know, it's unsettling. It definitely puts you on guard. I can tell you that. You get defensive real fast, and you find your faith in whatever your personal faith is. You find your faith real fast.
I don't know why I find it funny. But like, just as you were discussing about seeing it, and like I played it in my head as to what I would do, and like my very first reaction was like socking it in the mouth, like, oh, but pow, you know.
It's that kind of reaction, though. It's a fight or flight, instantaneous type of thing. I always, the couple times that it's happened to me where I've actually been close enough type of thing, I took a step back. I just gave myself just a little bit more space, so that necessarily I couldn't touch them and they couldn't touch me without making an effort, type of thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And then I, like I said, you know, and then I went to my faith right away. kind of thing. Like I pulled it out, out comes the holy water and the crucifix type of thing.
Right. So I think the first one, well, let me just preface this with this conversation that I had with Cena last week. And I wanted to see what, she would say just about the topic in general.
Mm-hmm.
Did she know anything, anything about, was there any symbolism to different colored eyes? And was there anything that, that really meant anything? And her reaction was, it wasn't so much vague, but it was limited. And she pretty much just said, red eyes could definitely be just a normal spirit, probably with malevolent intentions, negative intentions. Anger about something. Black, obviously demonic. But what caught me, and I said this to you as well when I sent it over to you, yellow eyes are reptilian,
right?
And
that doesn't surprise me.
That threw me for a loop, though, because we had been talking for so long about yellow-eyed demons, and the concept obviously coming from supernatural.
Right. Azazel supposedly has yellow eyes.
Yeah, right. And it's things like that. So that threw me for a little bit of a loop, and it's also why I went reptilian earlier with that story, because not only was it because of what she had said, but it actually fit.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I chose that story. I was excited when I saw it. I'm like, let me see. Like a scaly body that looks granola-like, yellow eyes, 3 feet tall. I'm like, this is like the perfect 3 feet 2 inches. Sorry. This is like the perfect story to throw in tonight's thing with our topic of different colored eyes and reptilians. And Mike and I were just talking about reptilians and yellow eyes.
So, the thing about it is I'm thinking back a couple weeks now to, or really all the stories that we have done lately that had yellow eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And we always went after the fact that, is it a demonic entity? And that's the whole thing that brought on this eye topic was the story about the yellow-eyed, at the time, demonic entity that was just kind of pacing around that room, that guy saw that really didn't seem to know what he was doing.
Right.
So, if yellow-eyed entities are reptilian in nature, what the hell are they doing?
I don't know. It's a good question. Is there a possibility that there's some sort of hybrid reptilian demonics? Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Did Satan merge with a unicorn? And
yeah.
And
the hatchling came out and it turned out to be a granola baby. And I don't know. Would it surprise me that there's some sort of hybrid? No.
Well,
because I think there's alien hybrids. You get your traditional alien, and then you get your subspecies of aliens, and they always consider those to be alien hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a possibility that there's like demonic hybrids, like something demonic or evil got somehow integrated with a different life form? It could be. Right? I can't rule it out because I don't know the answer to it for sure. So is it possible? Sure, it's possible. Is that what these people are seeing? Probably not.
This dimension is messed up.
Yeah. I think that there's real world documented cases of demonic animals, like where animals actually become somehow possessed, like in really negative so, if that can happen, could it happen with an alien hybrid? Probably.
Maybe there's a war going on between those two as well. Who knows?
They could be. Yeah, I was going to say they could be fighting. Who's to say that if abduction cases are real, and I think they are. I think there's too much I don't know where people would get such vivid recollection stories when they go under hypnotherapy, and that there would be so much commonality between what happens to so many different individuals from so many different areas of life, that if the Greys are abducting humans, do they have the possibility, do they have the ability to abduct other beings? So could they abduct a demon to study it? Is that possible? Do they have a way to do it? They take our cows. They come down and grab the beef every once in a while. So.
You just made the whole Fey incubus stretch. Well, they come down and take our farm animals.
Was that too big a stretch?
Why can't they take our demons?
Yeah, well,
But I'm not saying that's true. I don't know how that would be possible because honestly, demons are energy. They don't have a solid physical form. But if it was possible to set up some sort of containment field or something like that to do the demons, then I would get your CE5 going on.
Yeah.
Call them on down and then see if you can maybe borrow some of that technology and get yourself some revenge.
Absolutely. That's exactly what was going through my mind. I'm like, yes. Because that's my end of day story right there. As soon as that happens, that's
your lesson.
That's why I'm here. So, although Cena be the first one to tell you I need to let it go because she's vehement opposed to what my idea is.
Well, that and she's told you need to let it go.
She has told me more than once that I need to let it go.
But you're not.
I've let go of some of it.
Maybe that's why you feel lighter.
I do. I feel lighter.
There you go. So anyway, so obviously red.
Yeah. So yellow.
Well,
we covered yellow.
Right, but I started with red and then moved into what's seen, and then we got into the whole cows and demons.
Well, red we talked about anger, but I still think red is demonic. I think that red has. I think that red, like I've seen red eyes in situations where there's been things that weren't nice going on in the house. So let's say demonic in air quotes, and let's just say negative entity, potentially human negative entity, but something that's powerful that can actually do you some harm. Not just a pissed off former homeowner because you finally took the ugly ass wallpaper down out of the bathroom and they come floating in there with their red glowing eyes, all pissed off that you painted it pastel yellow. I don't think that that's the case. I think that something that has the ability to project red eyes, fury, anger, powerful. That's the feelings and the sensations I've gotten when I've seen them. And I've only seen them a handful of times, but that's enough times. I don't need to see them anymore. If I never saw red eyes again, I'd be fine.
The thing about it is when I was looking up a lot of stuff, when it came to red eyes, a lot of the articles that came up talked about shadow people.
Yeah.
And shadow people project red eyes. So I don't know so much. I think we're not talking about like an angry homeowner when they see red eyes. I think red eyes, yes, can be angry, can be fury, can be powerful, and it could also be hatred.
Right.
Those type of emotions. But I think you have to be at a certain level of vibration in order to either vibration or experience and knowledge. Because I know there's tons and tons and tons of stories about people seeing angry entities.
Mm-hmm.
And angry homeowners and angry spirits and angry full-bodied apparitions, and their eyes look the same. Like they all look fine.
Right.
Their expression on their face is anger.
Right.
It always seems to be the red eyes are accompanied by like just a black silhouette. Like they want to make sure that their eyes are the prime thing that you see.
I would agree with you because that's exactly what I would say too from my experience, my own personal experiences. It's never like a person walking up to you and then they're opening their eyes and having red eyes. It's never it's not happened to me ever. It's always been burning sensation eyes, some type of form behind it, but nondescript form as far as shape. It's there. You can feel that it's there. You can sense that it's there. You get a little bit of an idea of an outline that it's there, but your brain is not processing what's behind the eyes. It's almost like, I'm going to tell you, it's almost like the stare of like a vampire. Like it's when you see it, you are drawn to it so fiercely that you can't let go of that stare. You can't stop staring at those red eyes. It's like they suck you in, and that's where you're at until they let you go. It's almost like they're burning into you. People have said that many times. Like I've known investigators that have seen it and then quit the next day. I had an investigator quit on the spot. Like literally was like, that's enough, and left the house.
Just
walked right
out. Nope.
Yep. Basically. Right. Just walked right out. And I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do because you just became the prime cut of beef. Because that thing knows right away who the weakest link is.
That's fair.
You and I have talked about that since day one, right? You're only as strong as your team is. You can't go in there with a whole bunch of people that are going to be scared and weak because then your strength can only save so many people, right? Your wings can only go around and spread around so many people and protect them and keep them safe in a situation when shit hits the fan. You can't have 10 people in a situation and 7 of them losing their mind. You got to have 7 strong. And then a couple that are a little scared, that's okay. You could be a little scared. You should be a little scared, especially if it's the first time you're experiencing it. Should I still get scared when something starts going bad, like really going bad? And then you get over it. You suck it up and you get over it, and because you know you have to. There's no other. You don't just walk out. So.
Yep. So. Yeah, like I was saying, it just red. I think it obviously can be demonic. I think it can be. I just don't think that it always is.
No, I agree. Anger. We'll leave it with angry. Powerful anger.
So one of the things that you've had like an experience with is orange eyes.
Yes, I did.
And it's interesting because I just wanted to read this to you because this does not equal your experience that you had with this, but extremely varied, general excitement, usually signifies fire, obviously, pyrokinesis, archdemons, dragons, most common color in werewolves in human form when accessing enhanced abilities or just before or after transformation, and is also the natural color in omega werewolves, not alpha. Alpha's red.
Right. Alphas are red naturally. Yeah.
Alpha red werewolves are red.
Right.
But omega
are orange.
Werewolves are orange.
So what do you know about that? What do you remember about the guy who lived there?
I remember everything about him. But I mean,
and what did he want to be?
I don't remember that.
He wanted to be a werewolf.
Did he?
Yeah. One of the first things he ever told us. Initial meeting. He was laughing, joking, having a good time. And he's like, yeah, there's stuff going in. He didn't believe any of that shit. He didn't believe any of the stuff he didn't believe his wife or kids about things getting moved and they had those experiences, but he just dismissed them and came up. His mind just shut it down. And he told us, Steve and I were sitting there in the first initial meeting, and he's like, yeah, and what do you guys know about werewolves? And I'm like, out of left field, right? And I'm like, werewolves? And he's like, yeah. He goes, well, I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of studying and stuff. He goes, I want to be a werewolf. I think werewolves are cool. Like, I'd like to be a werewolf. And I'm like, huh, and so I took that with a grain of salt. Fast forward to right now.
Right. 12 years later.
Well, I'm just saying, right? Fast forward to right now. And now, was the entity that was in that house, was it an archdemon, which I still think it was? Or was it some conjuring manifestation type of thing from him doing something he shouldn't have been doing, wanting to become a werewolf? And that's why he was okay with the rest of the shit going on in the house, because he just figured that's the price I got to pay to get what I want. And maybe it was telling him that. Maybe it was like, hey, shit is not going to be okay for your family, but you're going to achieve what your desire is.
See, the only time I don't think that I ever personally met him, because I mean, we're talking about this case, and yes, I was on it, but
Yeah,
I was an absolute rookie, so I wasn't really privy to like all the information,
right?
And I think when you went in for that initial
meet
talk,
and greet, it was just Steve and I.
Yeah, meet and greet. I don't even think I had reached out to either of you guys. I don't even think I was a thought at that time.
I think your name was around, but I don't think we'd had our interview yet with you.
Right. So, I mean, I wasn't a part of the team when you guys had that initial meet and greet. And I mean, like, you guys didn't even give me, I don't even think you guys gave me evidence to review like that investigation. Bastards.
I don't think so.
Should have, just saying. You stunted my growth.
Yeah.
I could be at least like a month further ahead in my development.
You'd be a lot farther along than a month.
I probably, that was an amazing case.
It was an amazing case. You'd be a lot farther along than a month.
But anyway, like you talk about those eyes all the time. But I did not know about this werewolf thing until right now.
Yeah.
And I met the wife and I think maybe one child at the fair that Steve and I were doing a couple of weeks after our investigation there. So I never really met the family because they had just turned over the key and obviously left for the weekend during our investigation. Right. So this is all new information to me, but I do remember the feeling was not general excitement.
No, I mean, we had an investigator who, and I wouldn't even really call him an investigator per se, but he had experience in investigating, but he absolutely 100% refused to even come in the house.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Not only would he not go downstairs, he wouldn't even come in the house, period. He refused to go over that threshold. He sat in the garage, but he would not come in. It had a, attached 2 or 3 car garage. I don't remember his 2-car thing, but whatever, that's irrelevant. But it had an attached garage, and he absolutely refused to cross that threshold into the house. He's like, absolutely not. And he was not going. You couldn't have dragged him in there. He'd have fought you. He would have. He was that upset about it even. And I'm like, okay, fine. You don't have to come in the house. Mm-hmm, so it's one of the things you remember is that I left you downstairs alone there.
I will always tell that story.
Yeah, you always tell that story. And that son of a bitch, Dave, went upstairs. He's like, just stay down here. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go upstairs.
Yeah, I can
sitting in the master bedroom.
Well, that was after you actually sent me down to the daughter's bedroom first.
Yeah, that was the hot spot.
Yeah, it was. All by myself.
I was there.
No, I was all by myself.
I know. I was in the house.
You guys were in the house.
Yeah,
but
I was in the house. I would have got to you.
Yeah. I would have got to you. Thanks, Dave.
I would have got to you. I didn't throw you down there like as a fishing lure.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I was down there. I sat down there by myself many times, and I got phenomenal evidence.
So there's something that I have never heard before.
Yeah,
and it's nothing to do with yellow eyes or orange eyes. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay. Orange eyes. Moving on.
So apparently, there's rainbow eyes.
See, I've never seen that.
I've never even heard of it. And I guess I can understand why, because it's like nymphs and fairies, unicorns, Pegasus, and leprechauns riding rainbows.
Yeah,
it's like we're in a Trix commercial, or not Trix, Lucky Charms.
Lucky Charms. That's exactly. I was just about to start singing the theme song,
but yeah, I didn't.
Delicious.
Yeah, we don't need to. No. But I mean,
well, here's one I haven't seen. Gray. I have never seen gray eyes. And it says here, seen in ghost possession of humans. So I find that interesting because ghost possessions, we talk about demonic possessions and how rare they are, right? And they are rare. They are real, but they're rare. Percentage-wise. But you got to think, right? 7 billion people, although Cena was like, no. She put the stamp on that one. She's like, no, there's not 7 billion people. There's 7 billion entities.
I was going to say there's 7 billion fragments.
Yeah, there's 7 billion entities, but they're not all human, is what she said. So, but not nitpicking. 7 billion people, even if it's only a 0.5% or 1/4% or 1/100th of 1% of demonic cases that are legitimate, you're still talking about hundreds of thousands of cases out of 7 billion people. I mean, it's not like you're talking 8 or 10. You're still talking 300,000, 500,000 cases of true demonic possession. But I have never heard, and I've been doing this a long time, I've never heard of ghost possession.
So, I mean, one of the things that they might be changing the terminology is we usually call it being jumped.
Right. I've seen that. I've seen people get jumped.
So, but the only reason that I say this is because I've seen it on the Dead Files, which I actually watched the other night. The first paranormal show I've watched in absolute months.
Did you watch the new episode?
Yeah,
I watched that one too.
The season premiere. But I know in previous episodes, Amy Allen has talked about spirits who are trying to live again.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to slowly merge themselves with, whatever person is in the house.
She describes it like they jump on their back and people wear them like backpacks without knowing it.
Right.
That's how she sees it anyway.
And so I'm wondering if that's what ghost possession is, where a ghost, where it's not like demonic, where they can just jump you and get inside you and
cause you to do horrible things.
I wonder if ghost possession is like a much slower, like a very few spirits would know even how to do it. Like these spirits that do it are like from the 1800s. Like they've been around for 100 something years, and they've learned how to merge their energy with a living person's. And so
that's a really good question. Honestly, I don't know.
And
so I don't know if age has anything to do with it, but I get what you're saying. I don't know if necessarily it's 1800s and they've been around for 200-300 years and age has anything to do with it. I think that comes more into play, like we talked about, like we've talked more about it recently, but we've known and talked about it for a long time off camera, is that it doesn't matter if your house is brand new or 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
If it's haunted, it's haunted. It doesn't make any goddamn difference. It could be a Pareto Homes model home and you can move in and have all kinds of weird shit start happening. It doesn't matter. So I don't know that necessarily a spirit has to be, I think it just has to be a powerful spirit. Mm-hmm. And that could just be desire driven. Like maybe they're like, F this, I didn't finish what I wanted to, and they're really upset about it, and they're really working hard to get back. Maybe maybe it's, it takes a while, but again, time is a construct made by man. So who knows?
Very true.
I was thinking about that when they were talking about like how Noah was like 800 years old. I'm like, he might have been, but I don't think that years then were years what we talk about years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
A year was a week, so he was 800 years old.
Yeah, or maybe a month, or maybe they went by some sort of seasonal change. I don't know, maybe. Who knows exactly how it was, because nobody was like looking at the clock. I mean, they obviously followed and tracked the seasons, so they knew when to plant and when to harvest. And you see that in monuments and Neolithic things that are left, like any one of you can go to some of those monuments and they, got the perfect hole in the middle, and when it hits summer solstice, it casts that perfect shadow type of thing. Obviously, that was made specifically as some type of seasonal calendar, like a living calendar that would tell you, hey, we're in the middle of summer. Crops should be healthy and thriving right now. Hey, we're just leaving winter. We should get ready to plant crops. And then now it's fall harvest, fall equinox. We should get ready to start harvesting. It's blood moon. It's time to harvest our goods, get them out of the field so they don't die in the field, and we can store our crops. But we're getting way off course here with eye colors. Well, getting back to what you said, I agree with you. I think a very powerful human could jump and possess, or a ghost, I'm sorry, a very powerful ghost could jump and possess you. I think that's a good question for like Cena.
I don't know. I
don't know if
agree.
you'd like the answer, but it'll take 20 minutes.
Yeah, it'll take 20 minutes. We'll have to collect our thoughts after that question.
Yeah.
But what interests me about this great, so obviously, ghost possession of humans, some immortals display the eye glow. So I'm going to go on a limb here and say the Highlander was based on true events.
Okay.
Colin McLeod of the Clan McLeod exists. You heard it here first. But I mean, what's your take on that? Immortals display.
Again, I've never seen gray eyes.
No, that's true.
I've seen opaque, what they would probably call white. I don't know that I've ever seen pure white. I can pretty much tell you I've never seen pure white eyes. I've seen like an opaque eye that was like pearl white paint would be the best way I could describe it, or like looking at the inside of a abalone shell, had that kind of smooth multi-hue pearlescent white color to it. I've seen that, but I have not seen pure white eyes or pure gray eyes.
Well, I mean, it's
outside of a movie. I've seen gray eyes in movies, but not like in real life.
Right. So if you did see white, obviously, it tends to be healing energy, angels, and other innocent holy energy entities. I love how the fact that other innocent holy entities, angels are always like portrayed as being like complete dicks. Especially to like humans.
Well, supernatural they were.
Well, exactly. And I mean, and there's a couple other shows where like Lucifer, and like the angels were, they hated humans. They hated Earth. They hated the fact that, God loved, humans and Earth more than them. And,
more than them, right?
But I mean, it's a maximum state of peace in some being. And then unicorns.
See, I have seen a unicorn.
You've seen a unicorn.
I told you when I went on that journey with Peter.
Right, when you were on LSD.
No, I wasn't on LSD. I've been on LSD. I was not on LSD when I saw a unicorn. I saw other things when I was
were tripping, man. You were tripping.
I have seen other things when I was tripping, but not unicorns.
You saw a horse, and you put a.
I saw a unicorn that gave me a kiss and told me I was on the wrong side of the river.
No LSD here, people.
Flashback. That's when I took that stupid cart, thinking that cart would go under the river and take me to the other side to where I needed to be. And instead it went down and it took a right instead of taking a left. And then it just kept going down and down and down. And then that was obviously the big fire way down the tunnel. And then it got hot. And then I got out of the cart, like I told you. So
you're not helping your case. You're only helping mine.
And man, it was an experience. It was a metaphysical out-of-body travel experience.
There you go. Some context is needed.
Yeah. It wasn't like I was like losing my mind. It was a journey that we willingly went on, traveling outside of our bodies and exploring, looking for other places to travel to. And that's where we landed. Peter landed in the good spot. I went too far.
Gotcha. So we were talking before. We had the story this afternoon, earlier in the show, about the blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have hydrokinetic powers. So magics calling upon water-based nature deities.
Mm-hmm.
Mermaids.
I can see that. Mermaids, yeah.
Yeah, but in this guy's military base. Extremely peaceful yet energized state in some beings. The color blue has been associated with depression.
Mm-hmm.
However, depressed states are low energy and therefore don't usually manifest eye glow. So, but here's what I guess I've never really seen or heard of. Blue flickering could occur as deep sadness that gives way to vengeful crimson anger.
I could see that. I have not personally seen it, but I could definitely understand that.
So in a spirit, I guess that's possible. I mean, we're looking at like the librarian at the beginning scene of Ghostbusters,
right,
tranquil and everything, and then you try to do something, and it just blows up at him. So
that's how I would see it happening too. Like you approach somebody and they're doing their own thing, and then for some reason you do something stupid and they get instantaneously angry, and they transition from a peaceful, natural looking spirit to something aggressive, powerful. I change color to red, crimson, orangish red. Yeah.
If you ever hear in an investigation, I wouldn't do that if I were you. You're probably about to have one of these experiences.
Yeah, don't do it.
Blue to red.
So here's the interesting thing, right? So I love telling the story because you're going to be there this coming weekend. Is when we were following that purple ball of light, that purple orb, that's exactly what it was. It was an orb. It was just this beautiful violet colored orb of light. And it was at one of the cemeteries where you're going this weekend. And so here it says gypsy magic or animal-based magic, sometimes seen in especially powerful voodoo practitioners, which I don't think we have much voodoo going on in rural Minnesota. Unholy fire in vampires about to burst into flames, or dark priests calling upon unholy energies. Now, I would not associate the spot I was and the experience that I had with any of that.
Unholy fire and vampires? Come on.
No, not at that location.
That's that location.
Yeah, no, totally not. But it's not to say that there wouldn't maybe some animal-based magic, or that there could have been a little bit of magic going on. Whatever the entity was that chose to show us that color got our attention, obviously. So what it was doing is it needed to stand out so that we would stop what we were doing and be like, hi, who are you? And then it started moving and we started following, and it paused and made sure we were following. And then it was intelligent and it kept moving and we followed it. And then like I've told this 100 times, when we got there, it dipped down into this thick tangle of brush and then disappeared. And I'm like, well, that's strange. And so Steve was kind of just standing there walking around, talking to himself or whatever. And I got down on my hands and knees and started digging through that brush. And lo and behold, once I got a bunch of that crap out of there, there was a little itty bitty tombstone about this big, just barely sticking up from the surface, about like that. And it was old. It'd been there a long time. And I think that I still believe that. I still believe my spirit guides behind me are telling me that I'm 100% right, is that entity had been forgotten about, and finally somebody came to that location that had the ability to experience what they were at. They were asking for help, and somebody that came there, which was me, had the ability to see them and help them. That's exactly what happened. But interesting, that's not eye color. That's just a great personal story, but it ties in with where you're going to be this weekend. So if anybody wants to have an experience like that, and I'm not saying that you're going to, because you might not be able to just because you're not tuned in, but things like that, peaceful, great personal experiences exist at the location that Mike's going to this weekend. Lots of it, nothing bad. So if you're worried about it and you're like, I don't want anything follow me home, I don't want to change my life and ruin my life, there's nothing that these two locations, there's nothing like that.
Yeah. So with the few minutes that we have left, let's finish up with Black, everybody's favorite.
Yeah, there we go. Black, and or how about we finish up double? Black and basically non-existent. So Black, I've seen, like I said earlier, I've been standing next to people in situations when their eyes changed and went black. Creepy, instantaneously go to fight and flight mode, instantaneously go to my faith. It's just a natural reaction. It's what you just do. I mean, Black is basically, to me, it's demonic. I mean, isn't that what Cena said too?
Yep. Pretty much everything that's out there says that Black is demonic, and I can see that. Or the only other variation that I would put out there is like a human spirit who has demonic tendencies.
The demonic wannabe.
Yeah, a demonic wannabe. Like they're intentionally showing themselves with black eyes so that you will fear them, so that you will think that they are demonic.
Right.
What was interesting about this is a metaphysical energy vacuum. So,
which makes sense because a vacuum would devoid any light.
So that's
like a black hole.
That's what they're saying. It says no light energy admitted forth as the demon is siphoning energy from the human.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what causes their eyes to go black, is they are sucking in,
drinking you. Right?
Yeah, you're drinking you.
Well, that's what they're doing. They're drinking your energy.
Just want to drink you in.
They're siphoning your energy, drinking your energy. It's the same thing. They're basically stealing you as who you are. They're stealing part of you.
Mm-hmm. So the no eyes, though,
creepy,
absolutely. But
creepy.
I don't know. I guess I don't particularly know if that's demonic or not, or what causes that. Because I mean, we had one story a couple weeks ago or whatever that said they had read that suicide victims,
were basically they're showing as no eyes,
is with no eyes. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never heard it.
Never heard it either.
But there's a lot of interesting things with that one. But I would not necessarily call no eyes demonic.
I'll tell you what, I've never seen it in real life. I don't want to see it in real life, but a lot of my nightmares and a lot of personal experiences where I wake up and there's still something there. My eyes are open and there's still an entity there. I've seen a lot of entities with no eyes, and it's unpleasant. Well, it causes stress in your life.
Well, speaking of unpleasant things, the show is over.
Yeah.
I don't mean the show was on. I don't mean the show is over, but the unpleasantness is that the fact that we can't go on. We have to we have to go off the air now.
Correct.
I just wanted to clarify that, since that
I know what you meant.
I know you did, but I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, thanks.
but talking to the listeners. So all right, that does it for us tonight. We hope you learned something from all of our rambling.
Somewhere in there's a couple good tidbits, I guarantee.
That's right. as it is every show. Every show,
Mhm.
there's a couple good tidbits.
Yep.
But we'll be back next week with another new episode. Again, you can follow us, like and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube, the Odyssey Files Radio Show. And you can send in your stories or questions if you would like to. Get Dave and my opinions on stuff. OdysseyFilesRadio@gmail.com. So with that said, we will see you next week. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great night.